Hello, welcome to another Dangerous Dialogue. Tonight, talking about love. Ooh, wow. We just had a conversation. Good start. Sorry, come on.
Love.
Love. Okay, so love. That's what we're all here to talk about today. It is the day before Valentine in the year 2022. If you're watching live, that's not news to you, hopefully. And we're going to kind of unpack everything that comes with the big topic of love and what that really means and what that means to different people, which we're about to find out in a sec. But first, let's meet those people. I'm not going to do one of those drama games with the ball because that's shit. I'm just going to go straight over to Madam Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm here again. And this Valentine's Day, I'm spending it with my 5-year-old.
Woo! Amazing. And Nea?
Hello, I'm Nea, and I'm spending my Valentine's Day at work, which according to my colleagues is really sad.
Oh, I feel like it turned into a sound effect machine. I'm so sorry.
You need one of those buttons.
Oh, applause.
Yes.
Talking of which, over to Mr. Dickens.
Hello, I'm Edward, and I am also working tomorrow on St. Valentine's Day, but my best man is arriving for a visit in the evening. So that's fun. Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay, cool. And I'm Tom, for those that have never watched this before. And I'm spending Valentine's Day on the train. Ooh, who knows who will me? Because I'm going up to Scotland to visit my dad, which would be lovely.
And not me.
Well, I'm trying.
I know.
Or me, for that matter.
I haven't. Anyway, so moving on from that awkward turtle, we're gonna just start to think about what love means to us. So I'm literally gonna throw that as a question to everybody. What to you is love, and what does it mean? That is such a difficult question to start us off. So because of that, I'm gonna go in the reverse order of what we just did. Whoa, shock horror. Edward Dickens, what is love to you?
Oh God, it's easy to go first, isn't it? He lied. Well, in some ways, that initial technical blasphemy is rather accurate, because for those of you who don't know me, I'm in the very, very early stages of hopefully becoming a priest in the Episcopal Church. So the first thing that's going to come to mind when I think of love is God. God is love, and love is God. It's also obviously an emotion and a chemical process in the brain, but it's not one I think we can understand very well. And I think it was Alexander Pope, the poet, who said, "'Tis a fool that looks for logic in the boundaries of the human heart." It's the sort of thing that you just have to go with. You can't explain it. There's no analyzing it. There's no explanation. And it's everything at the end of the day, whether that's romantic love or love of your home or your country or your friends. It needs to be the baseline for all of human activity, as far as I'm concerned.
I did not expect to get a bit teary.
That's the
sweet.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Fucking hell! Imagine going after that, Edward. Yes.
Thank you.
Nea.
Yeah, I mean, imagine going after that, and then I've got the sorry lot to do that. Yeah, I mean, I like that you touched on the whole it is a chemical process, but and a feeling but it's really ambiguous. I feel, but I've always felt and might be more drawn towards the familial and the love you have for your friends, but yeah, it is the root of everything, at least. I find there are people who don't really experience love, like a romantic people, but that's not, you can still have platonic love, like I just said, but yeah, but it is really the key ingredient to life and human connection, I find.
Oh, we're gonna jump straight into this deep shit today, aren't we? Go on, Zoe.
I was waiting to say that's what she said, but I didn't. And then I did.
And Becca.
So, I mean, love to me, I definitely know more of the platonic friendship, family love than the romantic kind of love. I think love is, like Nea said, ambiguous. It's subjective. There's no one way to love someone. Which I think is fantastic. And because I had no idea what to say, I Googled what is love. And according to Very Well Mind, love is it.
No.
Oh, no. My brother texted me that while Edward was speaking. So that's why I was like this. Like he literally texted me.
God,
so
Ryan.
hi, Ryan. Hi, Mom. So love is a set of emotions and behaviors characterized by intimacy, passion, and commitment. It involves Claire. Hi, Claire. That's my son's godmother. It involves care, closeness, protectiveness, attraction, affection, and trust. Love can vary in intensity and can change over time. It is associated with a range of positive emotions, including happiness, excitement, life satisfaction, and euphoria. But it can also result in negative emotions such as jealousy and stress.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't smart enough to think of some of myself, so.
I hope everybody thinks about all this shit when they're going through Valentine's Day. It's gonna get heavy. I was a lot more simplistic about this when I was thinking about what love means to me. I had to write it down though because I've already fucking forgotten. I was like, yeah, it doesn't really mean that much to me. But to me, I felt like I could characterize love in 3 different ways, which is about companionship, because as we've discussed already, and we will discuss further, love is so many different types of relationships. So it's in any form, to me, it involves companionship. There's a 2-way thing. Then there's joy, because you gotta have some happiness in it. And then like a level of comfortability for me. So it's like when you feel like there is love, you will be able to speak and talk to people in a way that you probably won't to other people, which is why it's quite lovely to have a conversation about love between the 4 of us, because I know you all very well. So I dare say that I love you all.
I mean, oh, so sweet.
Okay. Next level.
Well, there we go. I knew the rose prop was going to come out at some point. Anyway, we've kind of got that weird mix of comedy and seriousness going on at the moment.
It's a beautiful thing.
Are like, how do I define this? But yeah, okay. So I think something that we touched on there is like at its core level, love is a chemical reaction, right? It's something that physically happens in your body. I mean, I feel like Edward, you said it really well there. People spend years investigating what this is and how it transpires, but ultimately the studies just go, well, it's love, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did some research. According to a neuroscientist whose name I cannot pronounce, and it's not a choice, that it's just I literally don't have the skill set to, but I'm gonna give it a go. So apologies in advance. Gabija Fisher. We're going to go with it. According to him, the physical feeling of love is characterized by having a dry mouth, butterflies in the stomach, weak knees, separation anxiety, a craving for sex, and an emotional union. And I could not fucking disagree more, because I love my mum and have no feeling of craving for sex when I'm in love with my mother.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of, but sure, yeah.
I mean, for your mother, maybe. Hey.
Oh, I think it would be fair to say, Tom, you also have love for of a kind. Zoe's mother, I mean.
Oh, I definitely
yes,
do.
Yes.
But
everyone has a kind of love for Helen.
I guess my thought there is like, how does love physically manifest? How do you know there is love? How do you know in that moment, whatever that moment is, that you are experiencing love?
With that description, I felt like that was more like a lust. That sounded more like lust to me than love.
Ooh.
You know? Yeah,
sin.
like just call me a sinner. It's fine. I feel like that was more of a description of lust than anything else. Like love physically, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if I've ever properly been in love, like proper romantic sort of love, for sure. But when it comes to like platonically, it's just knowing that it's unconditional. Like every time you see them, you're like, I really fucking care about this person. Like I would do anything for them. It's the feeling of safeness, of comfortability, as you mentioned earlier. Just being able to be yourself around them and not feel like you have to put on this front.
Yeah.
Knowing that basically no matter what you do, they're always going to kind of be there. That's another thing for me. But physically it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
You know?
What are other people's feelings on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do definitely agree that that description sounded more like, yeah, lust, or at least like romantic type of love. Because like when I'm around my friends, like I don't get weak at the knees or butterflies in my stomach. Like, sorry, Tom.
You have the wrong friends.
But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that felt like it didn't feel like a what's the word?
Like an accurate description.
Like an accurate or like a comprehensive enough of a description on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, Edward, you mentioned in your kind of opening remarks to make it sound like we're in the politics place.
Politics, the House of Commons, perhaps.
Well,
Commons of House.
They ain't so
Full of
common
love in
anymore. But anyway, yeah, that you described your kind of love for God specifically. You had mentioned there. I mean, just I
do not go weak at the knees or have an insatiable craving for sex when I step into church. No. To be honest, the thing about that description that's most confusing me is the dry mouth. I don't
usually you get moist.
That moist mouth thing.
You said it, not me, love. That's what I'll say. But yeah, no, I am reminded of speaking about religious side of things. I'm reminded of a couple of years ago. My church does 2 services on a Sunday, and we had these 2 guys that ended up getting into such a feud that one of them actually started going to a different service, the other service, so that he wouldn't have to see the other guy. And we had this American monk who came to visit us, and he gave a very, very, very brief talk at the earlier service, which usually doesn't have a sermon, in which he pointed out that love is a Christian duty, to have love for your other, not just other Christians, but all people of whatever belief they may be. But you don't have to like them. Liking and loving are 2 very different things. I love many people who I don't enjoy the company of, who I don't enjoy spending time around. And so I think definitely the companionship aspect is a much, and that sort of yearning for a companionship, and that has a physical manifestation as well, is a much more important component of love than anything sexual, although there is such a thing as sexual love, obviously. But
absolutely. And I think you bring up a very important point, which is, and it's something we'll make more of a point about next week when we're talking about sex. There you go, I said it, sex. The love and sex and liking someone and kind of romantic feelings, these are all very different things, and they're always categorized together. People will always go, no, this is one thing. But we've already talked about like 5 different types of love, with your platonic, with your friendships, with your family, with romantic partners, with sexual partners who are maybe not even romantic partners, etc., etc. And of course, the love that we haven't talked about, which I think we can all associate with, because we live in a very capitalist society, as we talked about the other week on money, is things. We love things. I really love these slippers that look like
oh my God, gorgeous.
They're cool, aren't they? But I don't want to have sex with them. I don't necessarily feel a yearning connection to them, but I love them.
Some people do. Some people do feel romantic feelings for inanimate, and how'd you say it?
Inanimate.
And
No, I can't say it now either. Inanimate. Inanimate.
Inanimate objects. Some people do have a genuine feeling of love and connection with inanimate objects.
But I guess for some people that does extend to quite a substantial relationship with that object.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm sort of joking when I'm talking about my slippers. I quite like my slippers. I'm using it as a shitty example. I don't necessarily love them. No, I do. Oh no. Now I'm questioning whether I love my slippers or not.
do you love your fan?
Like that's kind of the essence of love,
Right.
as well. Like, question, is this love or like what is? So
Do you love your phantom candles behind you, Tom? Yeah.
Don't trigger me like that.
I actually do. They've been used in a
Yeah.
lot of shows.
That was my thinking in bringing up the question. They've been through thick and thin with yourself and to a much lesser extent myself and also Zoe's self. And I don't know about Nea's self, but
did we use them in Pinocchio? I don't think we did.
I think we did. No,
That might be the first show in about 3 years they've not been in. But
special.
but yeah, no, I mean you're absolutely right. So I guess part of the reason we're doing this topic today is because tomorrow is Valentine's Day, supposedly the day that symbolizes love beyond anything else. And I just feel like we should unpack what that day is a tiny bit, because I think for some people it's the most depressing day of the year. I think for other people it's the happiest day of the year. And it's, I guess, for those people that are really happy about it, it's like affirming, isn't it? It's that this affirmation that the person that you love loves you too. And for other people, it's the affirmation that no one loves them. And I think that's why people are a bit icky about it. How do other people feel about Valentine's Day?
I'll let someone else go first. I always go first.
I'll make a point about it, because like I find it so bizarre here, because it's so like, well, it's so like capitalistic as well, and like so like all things, and like if you don't buy flowers on this day, it means
you're a terrible partner.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, why? If it doesn't have any significance in your relationship, why does it have to be like, oh, anyway? But in Finland, we call Valentine's Day the Day of Friends, which I love so much more. It's like, oh, everyone and nobody. Well, I mean, I guess some people don't have friends, maybe, but like, it. Who knows? But it feels so much more inclusive.
Yeah.
And there's not a feeling of like, oh, I don't have a date on Valentine's. I'm a rubbish person or whatever. It's like, no, maybe you'll spend it with your Galentines, or whatever you have here, which then feels like a secondary version of Valentine's, which is a bit weird.
On you go, Zoe. I'll let you go first.
I was just going to say, right down to it, Valentine's Day is a consumer holiday.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a way to make money. It's a way to make money. It's been instilled in us that we need to celebrate Valentine's every year. However, would I celebrate it if I wasn't single? Probably. I'm just bitter.
Just to interrupt, sorry, Zoe, to add to your exact point. According to marketing charts, in 2019, $20.7 billion was spent on Valentine's Day in the US alone, just the US. In the UK, apparently, it's about £35 per person that people spend on Valentine's Day. That's a lot of money.
That's cheaper than I thought.
It's
less than I thought.
It's still so much. It's still so crazy to me that people spend so much on this weird fucking holiday. But it's exactly what you just said. It's, well, what Nea said almost, it's like the system is kind of set up to be like, oh no, but you have to. That's how it works, or you don't love them. And as you said, Zoe, it's kind of ingrained in us in this kind of Western society. We go, oh, okay, that's how we show love. It's not actually going, look, I genuinely love you. You're wonderful. Here's me.
I got a Valentine's card every single year for quite a while. And it came in the post. My mum's got to be laughing just now. Came in from the post, and it was read anonymous, and it was like, from your secret admirer. I was like, oh my god, mummy, look, I'm getting all these cards. There's one card a year. And then years in the future, my mom was like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
It's like,
Aw.
so no one liked me.
I think I'm quite fortunate in that I've been in several relationships and one marriage, and none of my partners ever cared about it. So I'm quite fortunate in that respect, because neither do I really. And I remember I can't. How old was I? I can't have been older than 5. I was very young, and I didn't really understand what. Tom, get your mind out the gutter. I can remember asking my mother what on earth it actually was, because I kept hearing people talking about Valentine's Day and things like that. And I think my mother's explanation was it's a day when men chase after women and women aren't interested, or something like that. Which
That's every day.
It seems like yeah. I don't. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I mean, well, I a couple of years ago took some time to do a bit of research about why has it become associated with Saint Valentine, who incidentally we don't actually know for certain if he was a real saint and whether he's a folk figure, which is why most churches don't have him in the calendar of saints anymore. I still have him in mind because I think it's a established day in the year, so you might as well include it, is my attitude. But apparently he may have done some weddings for Roman soldiers who were at the time secretly Christian, and so therefore having a Christian wedding would have been illegal. That might be one origin of it, but there's also no proof that he actually existed, so we don't know. And so I think it's just, I want to know, and if one of you has done more research than me, please tell me, because it will save me having to do it. I want to know when it became such a huge thing commercially.
I can give you an answer on behalf of all of us. No one's ever done more research than you have, Edward. You're the most researched person I've ever met. So I look forward to you giving me the answer to that.
I will probably not do it tonight, but I will look into that. According
to history.com, super reliable sources here, it started as a pagan holiday in the month of February. Mm-hmm. That's all I know.
Okay.
That was it.
It's weird that it's lingered on so long, because like Greco-Roman pagan holidays, I mean, there's this I don't want to get too much into the origin of Easter and Christmas thing, because that's a murky thing, but it's weird. I mean, it's maybe a Saxon pagan thing. Anyway, sorry, I'm yeah.
I knew we'd get here. I just want to put a couple of things into the ether about Valentine's Day before we move on to other love-based things. One is that 6 million couples a year get engaged on Valentine's Day. That is 10% of all marriage proposals in a year, in one day.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's like, well, that's the ultimate showing of love in a way, isn't it? Because it's like this day that's supposed to be about love, I'm entirely dedicating to you, and you will always remember when this date comes around every year that was the day that I affirmed our love. But that's a lot of people in one day.
It is. And not to take away from like anyone getting engaged on Valentine's Day, I think that's wonderful. But personally, if you tried to propose to me on Valentine's Day, I'd be like, hell no, I need my own day. I am a Leo.
Yeah.
How many?
That's what I was thinking. Like, if people only propose because it is Valentine's Day.
Right.
Or is it like...
Yeah. That whole thing about proposing in a public place so that you hope the person won't say no and things like that. And I'm thinking, do you think... I don't know if you have these statistics as well, Tom, but do you think there's a slightly cynical aspect to maybe not wanting to necessarily get engaged, but wanting to get married on Valentine's Day? I won't have to remember the anniversary. I won't have to get a gift twice. I can do it, you know.
I mean, to that end, I don't have the exact numbers on it, but I did see that there a lot of weddings also happen on Valentine's Day. So you could be right. You could be right. It's a funny one, isn't it? The other thing to mention about Valentine's Day is that according to some research that the New Statesman did, 59% of British males think Valentine's Day is pointless.
Mm.
So that's almost 60% of the male population of this country think that Valentine's Day is utterly pointless. Zoe, I want you to speak on this because you...
I'm not male.
No, but I feel like you've expressed similar feelings before we started this about it all.
I think that people that enjoy Valentine's Day, it's wonderful for you. I would never take away someone's feeling of joys from holidays, but for me, Valentine's Day sucks ass. I don't see the point in it. No, I don't. I can see the enjoyment of it. Absolutely, I can see the enjoyment of it and what people get out of it.
Yeah.
But again, I probably just don't enjoy it because I've not really had a Valentine's when I've been able to celebrate Valentine's in the way people do.
Yeah.
I think I've been in one relationship for one Valentine's, and I think I was like 16 at the time. Yeah, and I got an Xbox 360. That was pretty cool.
Fucking hell.
That's really good.
Yeah, no. But it was his old one.
Oh.
And he bought a new one. And he gave me his old one. Yeah.
Is he
pretty
single?
cool. No.
That might be the most 16-year-old boy thing I've ever heard in my life, by the way. That what am I gonna get my girlfriend for Valentine's? I'll get her an Xbox, my old one.
Yeah, I was 16, he wasn't.
Oh right, okay.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was just questioning if there was an illegality going on there. It's fine.
No. No. Not in Scotland anyway.
Good. Cool. Okay, enough about that. So the thought to move on from that is, if Valentine's Day is not the right day to show love because we've decided it's just a big consumerist conspiracy, when is?
Every day.
Yeah.
You shouldn't just pinpoint your love down to one day. Constantly show your partner affection. If we're talking romantic love,
yeah,
even platonic love, like friendships, especially adult friendships, you don't need to speak every day. You don't need to hang out with each other every day. But every so often, like, I do find myself being like, oh, I've not spoke to this person for a while. I should give them a message just to be like, hey, I'm still here, still care about you, still love you, sort of thing. But it's like, show at least every day, show one person that you love them. You know, it's nice. It's nice sometimes to just get, like, I love my little phone calls from Tom when he's walking somewhere, you know, and that just reminds me, you know, yeah, always when he's walking, and he's walking different places every time. Or like when I get little messages, like my friend Miranda texted me not long ago because she's watching. Hi, Miranda. Just little things. The little things mean a lot. It's the little things that matter. Every little helps, as Tesco would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And to me, like, at least the way Valentine's works, it feels very external, the way you show love. And like, so if you think of showing love on other days of the year, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I bought you a box of chocolates or whatever. It might be, oh, I did the dishes for you, or something like simple like that, or verbally expressing or messaging and being like, hey, I'm here, and I thought of you. And that's really nice.
I love that. I was full on about to be like, at Brian Maitland, when are you doing the dishes?
Show me you love me.
I think if you, yeah, I completely agree. Every day and in the small continuous ways are best. Incidentally, I'm conscious of the fact, Zoe, that we live in the same city, and I keep meaning to say let's go for a drink or something.
Yes.
But I never have. So I've gotten.
That's a two-way street.
Yeah, well, I think I've gotten a bit bad at keeping in touch with friends in the past year or two, partially because of COVID, partially because I don't personally just like reaching. I love it when someone does it to me. They just reach out at the blue, but I don't personally like doing it. Stop laughing behind your smile, Tom.
That's such bottom energy. I'm sorry.
I don't like just messaging people out of the blue very much because it feels very tokenistic. I'd like to message someone and say, hi, do you want to go for a drink? Rather than just say, hi, how are you doing? I recognize the double standard there because I still appreciate it when people message me like that. But I think if you do want to devote a day where you want to be extra loving and things like that, then that ought to depend on who you are and what the relationship with the person involved is. I mean, I this is going to get fairly dark for a moment, so if people don't mind, but we are meant to be having dangerous dialogues. I grew up with a father who was epileptic, and we didn't really understand what his triggers for his seizures were. So I was constantly conscious of, if dad had a seizure cutting the grass or on the stairs or something, then that could be the end of dad. And so I developed a really big thing about saying I love you, making sure that was the end of every conversation, and that it was genuine. It wasn't just a thing that you say. It was a genuine, heartfelt I love you. And I carried that on to my marriage. And for those of you who don't know, I'm now a widower, sadly. But, and I think I would have been a lot more damaged by this if this hadn't been true, I know that the last thing I ever said to my husband was I love you.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredibly important.
I 100% agree. I end every phone call with someone I care about with "love you." Every single one.
I called
Absolute
you earlier.
fact.
You say that.
Yeah, I will, and I do it consciously. Like, there's a couple of my friends on just now. Also, I just want to point out, Miranda said, not just meals. Every day should be a day you express your love for another. Not just a day, one day a year, same as Mother's Day and Father's Day. However, I won't say no to a special meal tomorrow, though. That's what back to that. Yeah, I absolutely, whenever I'm on the phone with someone I care about, I have to end the phone call with love you. And it's because I've just embedded in my brain, I don't know if that'll ever be the last phone call I have with someone or the last conversation I have with someone. So I always, if I'm with people, I'm always like, okay, love you, bye. Or love you, miss you. Like, although I say it like quickly and it sounds like there isn't meaning behind it, there is incredible meaning behind it. Although sometimes I have slipped up on the phone and told the people wanting to know about my car accident, that I love them too. So that's just a little bit of a negative of doing that, but it's because it's like it's habit now. But yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment.
It is the little things, you're right. It's it's simplistic as saying I love you, which I think begs the question, why is it so fucking hard to say sometimes, particularly to people that you're in a more sexual relationship or a romantic relationship with? Why do we idolize this idea of being like, well, we haven't even said I love you yet, so you know, every 90s movie has that exact sentence in it, but why?
I think it's the thing about commitment, isn't it? Because if you're going to, I mean, especially if it's a first relationship for someone, I mean, chances are the only people you've ever said that to are family. So it's not just recognizing the love, because there was presumably some love in there to begin with, otherwise you probably wouldn't have gotten to that point in the relationship. But it's willing to go so far as to say I love you as much, if not more, than my actual family. That would be just a quick thought from me on the subject.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we just need to take a page out of the Finnish book, really, don't we? And just have a celebrate our pals and channel that energy into
our pals. Just our pals.
Funnily enough, though, we don't say I love you a lot. Like,
really?
Yeah, no. And like, even it's really funny. I find it so funny. Like when I watch any like American, British TV or whatever, and they say I love you, even if it is like, oh no, especially probably if it's I love you to a partner or like a romantic relationship, it's translated as I love you in Finnish. But if it's said to, say, a child, or a child says it to a mother or a friend or something, it's usually you're dear to me rather than I love you, even though they say I love you. And I'm like, is it really that difficult in Finnish to say like I love you that you can't even translate it on a series that's not Finnish? I find, yeah.
I find that a lot of it comes from the socialization of a person. Some people find it really easy to say I love you because of how they've been brought up. If that word gets used a lot, and the emotions are there. Because my mom and I always said love you. Like, it was never strange for us to tell each other we loved each other. Like, Jesus, I go home now, I'm 25. When I go home, I will sit on the sofa cuddled up to my mom. I like legs spread out, like just bosied into her, and shut up, Tom. And she'll just bosie me, and it's not strange. But if you're brought up in a family where you don't really show your emotions, you don't really say I love you, you're going to find it a lot harder to express emotions and feelings to another person, especially a romantic person, and especially if they find it quite easy, because sometimes you're like, whoa, this is strange, like I'm not used to this kind of love and affection, etc. So if you have that, don't have that closeness and that ability to express, you're going to find that those people are less likely to be able to do it. But again, I think sometimes the word love is overused. There's sometimes it never gets said, and sometimes it's like it just gets thrown out, and it's not what you actually mean. Like, what is the difference between being infatuated with someone and being in love with someone?
Right.
Like, where do we differentiate that?
I mean, it goes back to what we said at the start about this supposed neuroscientist definition of love is lust, as you described it. But I think what Nea just said answers that in a way. It's like we find different ways to say it, right? You say, I care about you. I adore you. I'm struggling to think of other things to say. Could it be that simple sometimes as saying I value your time? Is that a form of love? Can you say that to a colleague? I value your time. Is that love?
I got an email the other day from a friend and colleague, and I don't know whether it was a typo or whether it was genuine. Either way, it was nice to read because it got me thinking. They started the email with "My dear Edward," not "Dear Edward." My dear Edward.
My dear Angelica.
Yeah. But I got thinking that one word, "my," totally changes the whole meaning of the sentence, because dear Edward is just something that hundreds of people have said to me. So I think something like, you could say I value you, which might from a poetical standpoint not sound particularly good. It's a fairly clunky phrase, and it might even sound corporate sometimes, but when you actually sorry, I wasn't trying to insult
I'm winding you up. It's fine. I value you.
Well, but that's just my point, is if you actually sit and think about it, it's a lovely phrase.
There was a difference between what Edward said, I value you, and what Tom said, I value your time. Because I feel like the I value your time is far more corporate, but I value you. I don't just value your time, and that I value you as a person. Well, everything about you.
I will blame my bad hearing on this. I actually thought Tom said I value you.
I did the second time.
Oh, okay, right.
Thank you, Edward. I valued your time there. But yeah, I don't know, because I mean, we've talked about kind of that platonic relationship with friends, which is totally love, and family and romantic relationships. But with a colleague, like we're discussing now, I wonder, is there a way to show that love where it's like, I genuinely really value some of my colleagues, and I learn so much from them, and I feel like we have a really great relationship. I'm not their friend. I'm not going to go for a pint with them. I don't have any romantic feelings towards them, but I really, would I say I love them? Maybe. How do other people feel? Do you love people at the escape room?
I do. I love the community that we have. Like, I love them as colleagues. I mean, some of them were my friends before, like they were my colleagues before, but anyway, like I could see myself going out for not a pint, but like going out with them. But I wouldn't probably go as far as saying like, oh, I love you, but it's I don't know.
There's different levels of love.
There is.
There's different levels. You can say I love you to someone and you do love them, but it's like down here. And then you can say to another friend who you're super close to, like, I love you. I love you. And it's like, but you're up here with them. And then there's different levels of love. And that's okay. You know, that's fine.
Yeah, and it comes with the context as well. Like, obviously, you don't love your colleagues in the same way as you love your close friends, but you might still love them.
There's some situations you do.
I mean, I think it's one of those things like, I don't know, soldiers still gaining the same close bond with their comrades, that they, whether they're conscripts or volunteers, whether they've been forced to serve or whether they volunteered to serve, they still always gain that close bond, because it's about coming through crap together, and you always do in the workplace. And if you come through that badly, or if the crap was caused by one of your colleagues, then you don't have love for that colleague, generally anyway. I think, conversely, you could look at it like a prison and say prison inmates don't tend to like each other because they didn't want to be there anyway, and it was just a bad experience for anyone. But maybe there's some interesting research on that, actually, that the sort of likelihood that you end up remaining friends with a colleague based on how much you liked the job, I suspect that's probably quite high.
Because I think I'm going to say the T word. I think there's a lot of trauma in love, and I think what you've just said is so indicative of that, right? Because when you experience something with someone and you've gone through that experience together with someone, it bonds you. And if we're saying that love is ultimately just a really strong bond, then ultimately there's. So I guess everyone that's here, I've sort of been a colleague of before anything, if we're talking about it realistically, because I've worked on shows with all of you. But I love you all. But I guess we started as colleagues. We're all friends now, but that's not the point. Okay, well, you know, I know Zoe, but yeah, I guess, are we saying that trauma and love are completely related?
Absolutely.
It could be.
Absolutely, trauma and love are related, and love and hate are very closely related. I'm a firm believer. Yeah, I am a firm believer of you can't hate someone you never loved.
Yes.
Like, you can strongly dislike someone you've never met, you've never had a relationship, but I don't believe you can truly hate, and hate is a very strong word. They are so well connected. It's like you can't dislike someone that much that you never cared about in the first place.
I feel like because to me, I think that love and hate are essentially the same emotion, to be blunt. And I totally agree with what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree that you have to have loved them at one point. I hate Boris Johnson. I have never loved Boris Johnson, but I feel a very, very strong bond that isn't there with Boris Johnson. And I think that's like the antithesis of love, right?
I think with me personally, like, I don't hate Boris Johnson because I don't care about him enough to hate him. Like, I never had that care for him there. I strongly dislike the man. I don't like him, but I don't care. I've never cared about him enough to hate him, to put in the effort to hate him, because hate's a lot of effort. And to be honest, I think there's only about like one person in my life I could say that I truly despise. But I did at one point really care about that person.
True. Yeah. Well, how do other people feel on the love-hate thing? So pondery.
Yes.
I don't have my tea to sip anymore. Hi, Kirby. Also, I had to shout out Tom Sargent. I forgot to do that earlier.
Yay! Thank you.
There was something I was going to say, but I can't formulate the thoughts quickly enough, sadly.
I guess to help you there's the phrase "falling out of love," that is a very common phrase, and I guess I'm questioning if to fall out of love is to hate. Is it the same thing? No, you disagree?
I don't think so, no. Because like
you can,
like you can fall out of love with someone, whether it's a relationship or a romantic relationship, but you still don't hate them. Like it can be just like, okay, I realized that we are maybe not the same people anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why this doesn't work anymore. But it doesn't mean that neither of you is a bad person, or like that you, yeah.
But by our logic
Yeah.
earlier of there's different levels of love, if there's no love, you get what I mean. I don't know. I'm just sort of questioning it. I'm being devil's advocate in a way. I'm just being a bit of a bastard. But
That's nothing new.
well, I guess that's what I'm questioning, is that to fall out of love with something, you have to have no love left for it at all. Sure.
Yeah, it's that old question. Like, if you can remain friends with, say, a romantic ex, if you can remain friends with them, did you ever really love each other, or is their love still there?
Right.
But that's the thing. There's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. There's a huge difference between that. So I think that's where that question lies, is yes, you're falling out of love, but it doesn't mean you have no love for them. You still have a type of love for them. It's just not that in love, want to be with you forever kind of love.
Yeah.
But it's still a love.
I'm just thinking that for me, I think hate is a very visceral reaction. It's a sort of, you see someone and you feel like you almost can't contain the urge to just walk over there and smack them or something like that, and I do feel that about certain people. I won't lie. I'm not perfect, but none of them are people that I could have claimed to have even remotely liked before I started to feel that way. I'm going to draw a line under that, who those people may be.
Sure.
But
Of course.
The other thing that I was thinking there was about sort of, well, I don't know, like a hate crime, so racial hatred or homophobic hatred, and I'll go more with racial hatred because that's what I was thinking about just now. I think hate can be caused by having loved something and then having fallen out of love with it to such a degree that you have this passion, but you have no liking, so it has to be channeled to dislike. But by the same token, it can also be caused by ignorance.
Yes. To your point, though, and I feel like we should all note on a conversation about race that we're all white. Just putting that there.
Yes.
But to that end, I think to hate another racial group is to love your own to an extreme, right?
That's true, actually. Yes, I think probably true. Anyway, I don't think I've ever experienced racial hatred. At least I hope I haven't. But yeah, I think you're probably right, because you only need to look at what race supremacists of whatever race they may be have to say in the public sphere to get that. I mean, they never talk, or at least nowadays they very rarely talk about we want to destroy X race. Right. They talk about we want to preserve this race, or right. So I suppose, yeah, I think that's probably true.
I guess that
nothing says love and Valentine's Day like white supremacy.
I mean,
fucking hell.
Put that on the Instagram.
No, absolutely not. You're right. I mean, it does find like a funny kind of thing to talk about when we're talking about love, but it does kind of sigouge, French for segue, me onto this exact point, which is that you can have a very toxic kind of love. Love can be a really terrible emotion, and that's why I think we've kind of stemmed about hate being such an integral part of love. But I guess I think it was Nea that said earlier that love can reach a point where it's not, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but there was something that you said, that love hits some sort of level of extreme. I'll watch it back. But whether that's for literally an extremist cause or a very extreme view, I mean, there's love to a point where you are infatuated, you're obsessed, you're a stalker almost for some people.
Just call me out, it's fine, whatever.
I mean, I don't personally have much experience on that level of love, I would say, personally. But I mean, it's there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it is. I mean, yeah, I don't think I've ever loved anything to any concept to such a degree that I hated anything that opposed it. But I'm thinking more about what you said about hate, and I would say I think it's probably fair to say that the sort of visceral hatred that I do have for certain people is indeed caused by the love that I have for another person. So I think yeah, it's. I'm sorry, I'm spending far too much time on it. It's just because I hadn't ever thought about it that way, and I think it's very apt indeed, if I may say so.
thank you. You can quote me in that sermon.
I'm figuring you're waiting for me to speak on this.
Yeah.
I have some experience with toxic love, toxic relationships. Nothing like too extreme, nothing like super, super crazy. But as someone just with, because I experience emotions differently to some people. I have borderline personality disorder, also known as, well, previously known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, now known as emotionally intense personality disorder, because we have super intense emotions to the point where it can get too much for some people and we don't mean it. And with love, this is why I've never known if I was truly ever in love with someone, because I don't know if it was just a super intense feeling of need of this person. We have this thing called a favorite person where we put them on a pedestal. They're above everyone else in our lives. Basically, our whole life revolves around them. We make everything about them. If they're feeling shitty, we feel shitty. Like, and emotions for us can be really painful. Obviously, love hurts. It's in so many songs, but like sadness, anger, all the normal emotions, like I feel them like times 10, times 100 sometimes, where I get pains. So I get to a point where it's like I love someone so much that it's too much. It's too much, and it's something that I can't help. It's something that I am working on. But I also go for the people that won't give it back to me. Like I go for the one, like I'll give my all, because in a way I'm trying to fix that person. So if I give them all this, they might give me a little bit back, and if you give me a little bit back, that's great. That's fantastic. You know, they're the best person in the world. Like they could just smile at me one day, and I'm like, oh my God, you're literally God on earth. Sorry, Edward.
No. So that's you're talking about your views, not mine.
Yes, of course. But yeah, I just and then that then leads into this spiral of they can give me the slightest thing, and that's enough for me. Because I'm just getting that, because they're already on that pedestal and they're already wonderful. It's like the slightest thing you give me, the slightest little touch you can give me, I'm going to take that all as being fantastic, and I'm going to give you 110% from myself. Right. And then it'll go to the other side, that if anything happens and anything like kind of falls apart, like there's no in between where I'm like, oh, that was really shitty of you. It's like, no, you are the world's worst person. You're a terrible person. You should die. Not actually, but that's where my brain kind of goes. It's very black and white. Yeah. There's no kind of in betweens for it. There's no sort of gray area for the emotions. Kirby says happy Valentine's Day to all of us.
Happy Valentine's Day,
Kirby. Yes, indeed. Well, it's not yet actually here. But thank you for the pre.
But I think your point is so valid though. Like when you experience very extreme emotions like love and hate, like we've talked about, it is difficult to like draw a line within yourself, because as we talked about almost an hour ago now, we don't understand these emotions. Nobody understands these emotions. No one understands the chemical reaction that takes place fully. So it's hard to know sometimes when you've like crossed a line, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and boundaries, like people have different boundaries when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love. And that's something that needs to be communicated, and a lot of the times it isn't.
Yeah.
So you're doing all this and they're like, no, this is far too much for me, but they're not saying anything. Or they decide to say it like after things have kind of dwindled. And you're like, well, you could have said this before, because if I had any of a kind of idea, we could have done something about it. But it seems to be, when it comes to especially toxic relationships, I've noticed a pattern just personally from what I've noticed around me. I'm not saying this is fact, but it's always an empath and a narcissist. And that's what it always seems to be. It's an empath, and the empath's like, I can help this narcissist, and the narcissist is like, oh, I could take advantage of this empath. This is going to be easy for me.
Right.
But it seems to be those toxic kind of relationships stem from those types of people, but it's not always just that types of people, just the ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
I've
And
been in.
I think that will always be a flawed relationship in any way, because you should never enter into any kind of union, any kind of bond where the goal is to try and change someone, or to feel like you have power or something over or someone else. So I guess that's doomed from the outset. And I guess it's interesting because I'm sure in that moment they feel love, but way back an hour ago when we had that description, it's like, it's not love, is it? It's lust, actually, that you're experiencing.
Yeah, lust, infatuation. It's not real love.
I saw a meme years and years and years ago that it was like, I want to know what love is, and then the second panel was it's a neurochemical con job. I've hated that ever since I saw it, because it's not for me. But I think that sentiment rings true, because for a lot of people that's what it is, sadly, or it turns out to be. I mean, when I was first getting going in a relationship with the man who I eventually married, I, for the first couple of months, refused to say I love you, because I didn't think I was capable of that kind of romantic love. And it took a long time to get into the swing of things and realize that I actually was.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a good thing to just write it off and say it's a con job and it's not real. I think if you've never experienced it, the best thing to do is to keep an open mind.
And that's it. Like, I don't think anyone is truly completely aware of what all their emotions are. And it's okay to be like, do I love this thing? I'm all right. It's all right to question it, right? Yeah. Well, one thing I will never question if I love is Eurovision. I love Eurovision so much. And I just had to bring this out, A, because Eurovision's fucking amazing, but also because their logo is literally this. And I just briefly, before we finish, want to talk about this symbol that we think of as a heart, that we think of as love, and is actually just a giant bum hole. That's all it is.
I'm not sure what bums you've been looking at, Tom.
I'm gonna have to check my butthole after this.
No, but I mean, like, if you look side on, the heart is.
Sure. But bum, yes. Bum hole, perhaps not. I think. Yes.
It's the cradle for the the orifice.
Yes.
Yeah, I find that so fascinating. I always remember at high school a teacher drawing a love heart on the boards, and it was like, this is fucking weird for like a 56-year-old French teacher. And then he was like, look at this heart, it's a bum. I was like, whoa, love is all about bums.
I am a butt man myself.
Really? I didn't know that about you.
I'm absolutely an ass man.
But
I love an ass. I love a good ass.
I'm joking slightly, but I'm just questioning that we tokenize things, we symbolize things, with things like a love heart, or like this rose that I took out earlier.
So basically, what you're saying is that love is a whole load of ass.
Put that on your Instagram
Put that on your pipe and smoke it. That's what you're saying.
It totally is. To round us up, I would just love to hear from everyone what they feel like they're going to take away from this dialogue, because the whole point of Dangerous Dialogues is we take conversations that are supposedly a little bit taboo, things that people don't talk about and they really should, and we just talked about love for an entire hour on the internet in front of people, because there are people watching. Hello to those people. And if you're watching,
there are 9 people watching right now.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for anyone that watches this and catch up as well. If you don't like what we said, that's totally fine. We want you to have your own conversation. We want you to destigmatize these topics, which today's been love. So what are you all going to take away from this topic, having now opened up your heart to love.
Open up your bum.
Tell me I'm the only one. Is it really love or just a game?
Oh, wow. That was less than 8 seconds, so we don't need to pay the rights. That's good.
Oh, shit! I didn't even think about that. Copyrighted.
Go on, Nea. I'm going to go over to you first.
Oh gosh, I've no words. I don't know. This has been just so like interesting and so many different points that I can't even pick one. I guess
Helpless.
like the whole like how multifaceted it actually is. And that's what makes it so amazing and like in a way so desirable. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Edward, how do you feel?
I'm just trying to think. I think that the main thing that I'm going to come away from this of that I'm going to think on is because a common criticism that I get from friends of mine is that I'm too affable and that I don't hate enough people. And believe it or not, that is a criticism that I get because I find it very difficult to hate someone. If I hate someone, or I feel like I dislike someone, I try my best to find ways that I can at least tolerate them. I don't like disliking people, and hating is on another level. But it had never really clicked, like I said, the degree that love can play in hate, and that the cause of hate is often love of something else.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the main thinking point that I'm going to take away. But I'm also just thinking here about, hasn't this been an interesting conversation in of itself? Because we've all shown love here by taking part in it in the first place. I like to think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've loved this conversation, just to be a bit wanky about it.
Also, if anyone does take issue with what I say, Tom, please send them my email address because I love having conversations with people.
I love that. Zoe.
Well, Tom, all I've got to say is, what's love got to do with it? What's love but secondhand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart? A heart can be broken.
Again, less than 8 seconds. We're doing great.
Yeah, but I didn't sing it this time. They can't copyright it for me doing it as a monologue. Hi, Meg. And anything that we have said, these are our own personal views. Please don't take them as verbatim. They're not facts, although I'm always right. So take that as you want.
Can I just point out how amazing it looks that Tom has like a heart
headdress. Yeah.
It's actually hard. Yeah, I didn't think about that. It's the bum. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone that joined us. We even got up into the sort of double figures there of people watching us, which I'm very grateful for. Cool. So next week we're going to talk about sex. Woohoo! And then the week after we're going to talk about abortions. So there's quite a
link.
A link. One may say that love could lead to
love,
sex, could lead to abortion. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll discuss that in depth over the next couple of weeks, which Zoe will be joining us for the next few.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very excited, and I hope that this has been an interesting conversation for you to listen to. Please go and have your own one. And I think the last thing for us all to say is just love you.